Hey guys, welcome back to the Bam Bam Motorsports YouTube channel. Today we are just going to be going over the Midwest Thunder, MWT for short, Vrod rally that I attended last week in Columbus, Ohio. Anyone who knows me personally knows that that event is basically what I live for. And this year was pretty special because we were one of the main sponsors of the event. We did take our dyno up there with us. All the dyno runs for the event were done on our dyno. And we had some pretty cool stuff happen while we were up there. It wasn't all great. The weather was a bit of a battle from the time we got there on Wednesday until about Friday. It rained pretty much the entire time that we were there, which unfortunately did end up canceling our race day. I got to give the guys credit. The crew that puts together the rally, they did everything they could to try to ensure that we raced on Friday. The first track canceled on us. We found another track that said that they would do it in the morning and it wasn't supposed to rain there. Well, they had a rain shower there. They ended up canceling their test and tune that night to try to get us in later that night. We were going to race from 7 to 10 under the lights and it just would not stop raining. And eventually they had to call it, but they really did everything that they could do to make the drag racing go down, and it just didn't happen, which is unfortunate because that's what we were looking forward to this year. We did a lot of work on this old girl to get her ready to go up and put up some personal best numbers. I'm still chasing that 6-second 8th mile, and I'm still chasing the 10-second quarter mile. And with the power that we had this year, it would have been rather easy to set those records, but we didn't get to run. So at some point, we're going to go back out to our local 8th mile and chase down that 6. And then there's no quarter mile tracks around here. So this event was, going to be the Hail Mary for that. But we seen all our friends that we see every year. We had fun, we had drinks, we had a damn good time. And it's always a good time at the MWT rally, it always is. This year, my wife Jessie got to go with me, which made it extra special because this will be my 3rd year attending this event. And it was the first time that she had gotten to go. It was also her first time ever riding a motorcycle, which was really special. I mean, we've been together about 10 years and she's never even rode a dirt bike. She's rode 4-wheelers and tractors, and that's really about it. So it was special to get to go riding with her, although it wasn't all good. I have a 97 Road King that we took up with us for the event. I bought it specifically for this event this year because she was going with me, wanted something to, be comfortable on, and I'll be darned if the second time we had it out, the fuel pump died. So she got to enjoy 3 hours alongside the interstate waiting on a tow truck with me. But let's fast forward to Saturday, and that's really the meat and potatoes of this particular video. We had a lot of bikes there. We ran quite a few bikes across the dyno, and typically at this event, the highest horsepower stuff that you'll see is, well, take for example Sean Burke. He's been chasing a 200 for the last, as long as I can remember. Sean's been trying to put up 200 at MWT. And the record as it stood was 229 horsepower, and I really don't know the torque. That was held by a man named Steve Grebeleski, who I think is out of New York, but he's really gotten out of the V-Rod game from what I gather. So there was 3 of us that were in the power adder class. We were all chasing that 200 number. Nick Calandra, he has a supercharged bike. I think he's running an older Holy Moto kit. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, I'm sure you're watching this video. Sean is running nitrous, and everybody who follows this channel knows that I used to run nitrous, and this year I've converted this thing over to a turbocharger. So things got crazy. Unfortunately for Nick was having some issues with his bike, and we're not really sure what was going on there. But his number was only, I think, 169 horsepower. And that bike's made over 200 before on a different dyno at a different time, so we know it's capable. So Nick come in 3rd overall. He finished 3rd in the power adder class. Sean put up some crazy numbers. He wasn't sure what he had it jetted for. He just knew it was well north of 200 horsepower, and he put down 236 horsepower. which obliterates the MWT record that was well past the 200 mark that he was chasing. Job well done. That bike has I think it's a 1300 cc build. I think it's just an 1/8" stroke and stock bore build that's been in his bike for 10, 11, 12 years. It's been a really solid build, and he really crammed some juice in that thing. So let's get to my bike. So as you guys know, over the past year, I have been turboing this bike. This is a 2560 GT 2560 turbo. It is a $99 eBay special. I mean, just the cheapest Chinesium that money could not afford. I built the hot side myself, as you can tell by the ultra crappy welds. Underneath the airbox cover, which I won't show you because it's a pain to get off, I just have an older turbo plenum bottom that I bought off of a fellow named Ken Strauss. He sold me the bottom, and then I made all the piping work. Now this is a non-intercooled setup. This is, believe it or not, on some stock destroyer injectors. They flow, I think it's 6.37 grams per second at the stock fuel pressure, which it does have a 5-bar fuel pressure regulator in it that is boost referenced. And this boost pressure regulator is a bit of a unicorn. It's supposed to make 1 more pound of fuel pressure for every pound of boost that it sees. But unfortunately, and kind of fortunately in my case, it actually makes about 1.4 PSI of fuel pressure for every pound of boost, which is an important detail that will be brought back up later in this video. The engine, everyone asks me about the engine. And when I tell them it's stock, they just kind of roll their eyes. You know, they're like, oh, you know, there's got to be something done to it. No, there isn't. This is a 70,500 mile original engine to this bike. I have never even had the valve covers off of this engine. It is stock bore and stroke, completely stock internals, stock cams, valve springs. This thing is the way it rolled off the line in late 2011. It is a 2012 model, 1250. So when I say bone stock, I mean bone stock. And the running joke for this engine is we want to see what it'll take before it lets loose. And every year I show up with more power, thinking it's going to be the last time it ever sees the dyno rollers. And every year it blows us away with some new crazy number. So the last 2 years at MWT, it's put up roughly 175 horse and about 135 foot-pounds of torque on nitrous, an older Boss Noss nitrous kit. Well, this year with the turbo setup, I had the 7 PSI wastegate spring in here, which is what came on this piece of junk when it came from Amazon. And I made 2 pulls, which I'll show you right here. And in those 2 pulls, the first one it made 177 horse, and then on the second one it made 183 horsepower. And then I did something stupid, very stupid. And I'd like to start off by saying that I know that this was stupid, but I had talked about it all week amongst the inner circle, and I told them, I was like, hey, when we get that second run done, if that thing's still alive, I'm going to go ahead and do something that is going to be pretty memorable. You guys better have your cameras out. So what we did is in between the second and third pull, and you'll be able to see it here in this video. wife and I cut the wastegate line right here. And the function of this line is to take the boost pressure from here and feed it into this wastegate. And then when I said I had a 7 PSI spring in this, once that spring gets 7 PSI on the top of it, the little flapper in here will redirect the exhaust gas around the turbine and out the exhaust. And what the function of this is to regulate boost pressure. So it's almost like a PID loop. When it sees 7 PSI, it opens, it slows the turbine down, then it'll close back off, and then it'll open back up. And basically what it does is it makes sure that the engine is only fed 7 PSI of boost, which actually in this application, it was about 8 to 8.5. They're not always 100% accurate, but we just call it a 7 PSI spring, but you know, there is a little bit of tolerance there. So when I cut that wastegate line, this thing has no idea how much boost is in this engine. And the only thing that will regulate boost pressure is the flapper itself will push on the spring and open it up. So when we cut that line, we basically turned it all the way up in an instant. Now, mind you, I'd never turned this thing up this far. I had accidentally made some pretty good power by putting the wrong wastegate spring in the other turbo that I had. So I knew that it had the potential to make big power. What I didn't know is when I twisted that throttle and pumped this thing full of 23 pounds of spoolie boy energy, it made 239 horsepower and 145 foot-pounds of torque. Well, let that sink in. Not only did I break the 200 mark that I was after, I also won the entire dyno competition and set a new record for the MWT Midwest Thunder Vrod rally. I was so pumped, like so many emotions went through me all at once because this thing is a labor of my love. Everybody knows that I spend many late nights in this shop just beating my head against the wall, trying to optimize everything. And to go out and do what I did with a completely stock engine just makes me so proud, because I have proved you don't have to spend big money to make big horsepower. Now, will this thing live at this power level? Absolutely not. Will I ever ride it on the street at this power level? Absolutely not. But it's as simple as hooking this wastegate line back up, and I have a 180 something horsepower street bike. So we did it. And if you can't tell by the sound of my voice, when you see the dyno video and you see me screaming, that's where my voice went. I did it in front of my favorite people at my favorite event with my wife there. I mean, everything that had to go right went right, and it did. And people are calling me a legend and whatnot now, and that's not exactly, you know, what I'm after, but it does feel good. It does feel good. So there's still more big things to come. I mean, we're not done. I mean, one of the biggest emotions I had when I seen the screen and seen the numbers, at first I was super excited because of what I had just done. Super relieved that this engine was still in one piece. But then it also hit me, how in the hell am I going to raise the bar next year? So stay tuned for that. I don't exactly know what we're going to do yet, because we were really planning on this engine having a rod hanging out of it when we left the event, and then I was going to build it this winter, but it's still alive. So I can't really bring myself to build this thing. I don't know. We may do a few supporting mods. The bike desperately needs a straight cut second gear. It desperately needs the mains pinned. And at this point, with that many miles, I would say that this thing needs, you know, rings and bearings and whatnot. But then you kind of get into that thing of like, well, while you're in there, why wouldn't you go ahead and build it? So I've got a lot of soul searching to do. Like I said, we're not done with this thing though. I mean, things are going to change. Now that I know that this turbo does what I want it to do and can make big power, probably go ahead and buy an actual Garrett GT 2560, something, you know, probably ball bearing, maybe put some better parts on it and just optimize this setup. But I don't know. I don't know where we're at yet. We need to come up with a plan real soon though. But anyway, that's my update video for the Vrod. And here shortly, we will get back into the Duramax sled pulling content. And I will keep everyone updated on what we plan to do with this unit as we go along. But I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone that was there with me. But most importantly, I want to thank the people who told me that I couldn't do this. Because it's because of you guys telling me that I couldn't do it that I set out to do it. So anyway, I hope everyone has a great July 4th and stay safe out there, guys. Remember, I love every single one of you. Please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, stock is never an option.